are continuing with Dr. Hassina Kajee. She is a UCT trained specialist physician dedicated to understanding and teaching the role of nutrition in treating and reversing insulin related diseases. Now, following our last interview, we had a lot of listeners that were actually requesting podcasts, asking more questions. So I think that it is very relevant to many people out there. So, Alhamdulillah, we're going to continue chatting with Dr. Hassina Kajee, who is also joining us live. So you can hop onto our Facebook and YouTube and you can watch this interview as well. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Hassina, and welcome back to Urban Woman.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and assalamu alaikum to all the listeners, and Muharram Mubarak for the new Hijri year 1446 to everybody.
Subhanallah, Muharram Mubarak to you as well and your family. Also I'd like to share with the listeners that Dr. Hassina has also most recently, her most recent passion project is Siha Healing Center, a personalized nutrition coaching program rooted in Islamic principles where she sees patients online as well. So you can also reach out to her. And I love how she brings in Islam because everything is in our beautiful deen at the end of the day. And how are we? We'll go and look everywhere else but where we have been planted, basically.
Absolutely.
Now our body is amazing, and Allah Azza wa Jal has designed it so beautifully to facilitate us all the way, but sometimes it just doesn't work as well as we need it to. So we're talking about insulin resistance. We did chat last week, but just to recap again for those that probably missed out, what is insulin resistance, doctor, and what causes it? Just to recap before we continue.
Sure. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursaleen. So insulin resistance is basically the problem. So insulin is a hormone in the body that we need to be able to metabolize the nutrients that we eat, to put the glucose into, so from the mouth, digestive system, into the blood, and from there it needs to go straight to the organs that need it to give it energy. Not just the glucose, but also the proteins and the fats that we eat. So our body is constantly turning over cells. So insulin is a hormone that when it is low, the way it should be, it does its job perfectly. As you said, MashaAllah, tabarakallah, our body has been designed to keep us healthy and thriving, and our body is an amana. But two things happen. And the more the more we involve modern foods, Franken foods, the more we eat away from the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created foods in its natural form, the more damage we're doing. These two things cause, number one, the insulin hormone to rise. So we're eating foods that require too much insulin. We're not designed to eat foods that need so much insulin, namely carbohydrates, starches, which turn into sugar in the bloodstream. There's only one route, potatoes. Let me just say something shocking. One large potato is equivalent to 10 teaspoons of sugar. One bowl of rice is equivalent to 10, 11 teaspoons of sugar. One large banana is about 8 to 10 teaspoons of sugar. And this is what I teach my young children, mashallah, tabarakallah. So one is we are pushing the insulin that's required too high. The second thing is once insulin's job is done, for insulin to do its job, it has to fit into a little receptor, and that switches on the mechanisms. What we're doing is the foods that we're eating, cornflakes and burgers and chips and the biscuits and the packaged foods that we find in the store, those are made with preservatives, sunflower oil, and lots of things that actually cause that receptor to malfunction. So when insulin comes to sit in that receptor, it doesn't fit. So the receptor can't do its job. So the body reads that as there's not enough insulin, so the body pumps more insulin to get more into the receptor. So we're causing, by these two mechanisms, too much insulin. Now, insulin, when it's low, it does its job great. But when there's too much insulin, it starts to switch on mechanisms like the walls of the blood vessels get thicker. cancer producing mechanisms. People get skin tags, little, like growths on their skin. People get under their armpits and in their skin folds, thick, sort of dark looking skin that looks like it's dirt, and they try to rub it off, but it's
Yeah.
not. Actually, so I don't want to call it skin cancer, but the insulin has caused those skins to it's
Oh,
overgrowth of skin. So it's a sign of too
interesting.
much insulin in the body.
That's very interesting because I have seen that, and people often ask me, "What do I do about that?" Because I do cupping. So you're talking about signs. What are some of the first signs to actually show us that we're probably insulin resistance? We've had that, or also with related diseases. How can that be reversed or treated as well?
So the signs are easy. Like I said last week, you don't see in nature animals gaining weight as they grow older, but you see that in humans. We only see that in domesticated animals where we feed them table scraps, right? But in
Right.
nature, we don't see that happening. So the
Correct.
first sign is, when you have that lower belly roll, and you see that in children. You see that
Mhm.
happening in adolescence, that children develop this big belly. So when you get that roll on the belly, that's a clear sign. People can very easily hide fat around your neck, around your face. So if you are vigilant
Mhm.
and you look at your body, and I normally wear, a lot of people say, "Oh, I was a size 28 when I was 18. Doc, I look like you." And
Yeah.
it should never, you shouldn't go any, our body shape changes when we have children. The hips become a little bit wider because the child has, you've had a baby. But other
Mhm.
than that, you shouldn't be adding fat to your body. Add muscle, sure. Mashallah, if you're adding muscle, because muscle is very important for longevity and for health. But
Mhm.
fat, so if you're depositing fat, that's one of the first signs of insulin resistance.
There we go. So, what should people do now when they're noticing, there we go, you know what, I've been, from this dress size or whatever, I'm now this.
Hmm.
What is your advice to them, firstly, that they should go and do?
So, as Muslims, we are taught to fast on Mondays, Thursdays, and the 13th, 14th, 15th of every month. If you do that and you follow the Sunnah, immediately you are fasting for almost half the month, right?
Right.
So, there in itself, we have the Islamic teaching from the Sunnah of abstaining from food, because that immediately gives you a chance to lower your insulin. The problem with insulin is every time you're eating it, your insulin is going like that. So the insulin doesn't have a chance to come down. So when we
Okay.
fast, we immediately, I mean, just my granny, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her Jannah.
Mm.
She fasted until she was 95. She never skipped until she passed away. And we noticed that when she fasted every Ramadan, she would become strong and, more alert. And I think so many people recognize that. So fasting. But what do you fuel with when you fast? So don't choose these packaged foods. Choose real foods. Choose eggs. Choose meat. Choose good vegetables. Stay away from the fillers, because these carbohydrate-rich foods, they trigger dopamine response in your brain, and it's akin to when you look at an MRI scan of
Mhm.
a person, a cocaine user
Right.
and a sugar user. The brain
Okay.
scans look exactly the same. It's hitting the same centers. So it is, and
Remarkable.
it's actually on its way to becoming a medical diagnosis: sugar addiction, food addiction, because people have no control over it. So this is the thing that we should think about what we're eating. Choose protein, low sugar foods. Think how our grannies and great grandparents used to eat. They never ate 5 or 6 or 7 times a day. They either ate in the morning or they ate in the evening. So that's the one thing. Reduce the amounts of sugar that you're getting in the form of drinks. It's one of the easiest things to do. You get
Yeah.
herbal teas in the stores. You can have that. You can have, water. Um, Milk is fine, but when we start going towards the process, even juice is one of the worst things you can drink, because you've removed the fiber that reduces the sugar. So eat fresh fruit instead of juices, and just stay away from the processed foods.
Thank you so much. So basically, lifestyle, catch what we're eating, and I think we're all guilty of that. And you're making me feel so guilty about the potato, saying
Yeah.
that. What? I love my potato. Now I have
Yeah.
so conscious because I think I'm cutting down sugar in my tea. I only have 1 teaspoon, but there we go. It's been absolutely amazing chatting with you, Doctor, as always, shedding so much of light on a very important topic that we can often overlook, but yet has such detrimental effects on our health. As we wrap up quickly, your take-home message for our urban woman listeners this morning.
So, my message is we have just started a new year. We know what is going on in the world around us. I make the odd that everybody takes this body as an amana and realizes that in order to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought us to the world to do, we're here to do some good, each and every one of us. We need a strong body and we need a strong mind. These negative foods, they affect the mind. So please make a niyyah to do the best for your body, to treat your body as the amana that it is, inshallah.
Inshallah. I mean, well said. And it's often like we'll take such good care of the car, and we often use that analogy, and our body is the same anamana indeed. So let's make that niyyah. It is a new year, and that's when the resolutions should be made. Jazakallah khair for your time, Dr. Hassina Kajee. We've been chatting about insulin resistance. Until we connect again, do have yourself a lovely day further. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته and بارك الله فيكم.
That was Dr. Hassina Kajee. SubhanAllah, you can catch that, a wonderful interview if you just caught the tail end of that on YouTube and Facebook, and absolutely wonderful, bringing us back to the Sunnah, also reminding us of fasting. And remember, Muharram is such a blessed month. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam loved fasting this month, and it is one of the fasts that is beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal as well. So she's given us a beautiful reminder. Time for a break. I'll be back with you thereafter.
Positive vibes with Razia Language.
Urban Woman, sponsored by